Media Day is here. The boys are back in town watching a ton of film. A weekend of NFL, a weekend of Ryder Cup when we had no college football to watch in our group. It's all coming up on today's edition of Tip-Off. Ba-dum-bum-bum-bum-bum. Media Day! Ba-dum-bum-bum-bum-bum. Camp is open! Ba-dum-bum-bum-bum-bum. Yeah! That's all I got, really. That's all I got. I got nothing. I'm so jammed. I've been preparing for this day, and I'm somehow behind. It's 9 o'clock. I've already put the kids on the bus. I got rid of them. I love them, but I got rid of them this morning. I'm live at 1 on 1280 and 97.5. I've been trying to write questions out to every single player to make sure I hit the key moments with each of them and communicate and know enough about them and follow what their off-season's been. And yes! So geeked. Bunch of stuff for you. So, camp starts really tomorrow. The storylines of camp from the big picture, I think, are going to be, is Favors going to start? How does Foy fit in? Is Marvin going to start? But we're not going to really know that. We'll get into a big hoopla. Actually, we won't. We won't have a big hoopla about it. That's the nicest part of the year. About the starting lineup in Portland on a week from today. We'll see. That's going to be a story of camp. I think the other story of camp has got to be just the development of the players going from year 2 to year 3 and year 1 to year 2. There's an interesting note I'd have on that. We talk a lot about the core. I've heard this kind of phrase, the core 4, the young kid. I don't see that, you guys. Let me see if I can explain why. One, I think this is a playoff team. Often when you're talking about that core guys, you're talking about a terrible basketball team that's trying to develop out of nowhere, and that's kind of your piece you're using to develop. I look at the Jazz as a playoff team that's trying to progress. There's two things that this franchise is lacking to become one of the top franchises in the NBA. One, they have to get better defensively, and two, they have to get a star. And I'm not sure that star is on this roster. We'll have to see. Obviously, Favors is the one who could be that. Otherwise, you're going to have this roster somewhat similar to Denver, who has a lot of different players with a lot of different value, and you're just going to have to figure out which works best and how they work best. And I wrote about this today. I don't know if it's up yet, but the idea of the core 4, I think one thing that was really important about last year is that everybody got their fair shake on their ability, not based on their future, which drove fans crazy, but it held the team together. When things went wrong and the team had tough moments, you didn't have guys that felt they were being wronged who had a valid case. I mean, Raja thought he was being wronged and he didn't have a valid case, and evidently CJ did and he didn't really have a valid case. And so those fell on deaf ears. Whereas if guys were being benched who deserved to be playing just to let other guys develop, then you lose the franchise. Then you lose the control of where the team's going. And I think the key to last year really is that this team held together and got better as the year went on. And some of that got better as that the young guys kind of earned their way in the lineup. Some things, injuries, we got fortunate. I know this sounds funny, but we got fortunate with injuries. And I think that you really have to be careful that as much as what we want as fans, or what a lot of fans want, which is these 4 guys are going to be amazing, one, that's not accurate. We don't know that those 4 guys are going to be amazing. We don't know yet where they're going to be and who they're going to be. And so really what you have is a playoff team from last year where you have an incredible balance across the board that's gotten deeper with the addition of Randy and Mo and Marvin, and how they all fit together and what they do. It's not as exciting a story as, all these things, but SLC Dunk, who did just, tip of the hat to you guys. You did it also, getting through all summer, keeping posts going, which is just amazing. And I don't think you're getting paid, though I guess I'm not really getting paid for it either, which just means we're all crazy. But there was Dwayne Wade has been like this guy we like to compare Alec Burks to. Holy smokes! Dwayne Wade is one of the 5 or 10 best players in the NBA. I like Alec. He was number 3 or 4 on my draft board that year. I was a huge Alec guy on a very bad draft, I may add. But never for 1 second do I think he's going to be Dwayne Wade, as one of the SLC Dunk posts talked about. Is I wrote about him as maybe being Larry Hughes. Well, okay, well if he's Larry Hughes, then he's a really good piece, but you're not going to stymie the chance of a playoff team getting better just for that. I mean, and we don't know who Gordon is yet. Our best case is he's Scottie Pippen, but that's a Hall of Famer we're talking about. So we have, like I talk about Derek Favors as though he's Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard just went on NBA rank as number 2. I'm as insane as everyone else. We have to be really careful about the kind of insanity that we place due to our own fan optimism on our own players. And that, I got an email the other day from someone, and it was a great email, but what about, how close are we to, like, this concept of players? It was like they're all Hall of Famers. And, I think the chances of Favors, Hayward, Burks, and Cantor, any of them getting to the Hall of Fame is really low. Getting to the Hall of Fame is incredible. So when we start comparing our guys and talking about that, we got to be careful, because our instinct as a fan base is to say, you're going to be a Hall of Famer. Yeah! And just, a guy like Millsap, who's just so incredibly solid every day, busting his butt and giving us well above average play. Not quite a star, but well against average. Let's not dismiss how important that actually is. And Al Jefferson, who, yes, oh my gosh, you go back and watch some video and you see him guarding a high pick and roll and you want to rip your hair out. But the guy also is like the third most clutch guy in the NBA late in games because he can get a shot off. So let's just be a little careful on all of that kind of stuff. I'm totally disorganized today, frankly. I'm so busy. I just finally realized if I didn't turn the mic on at 9 o'clock, I wasn't going to get this done. So, just a thought on some of that. I wrote about it today on the Core 4, and I just, I'm not going to talk about that anymore. I'm going to talk about a playoff team. We have a fabulous mix of high-level veterans, all of which are really above average. None of them are stars, but Al's an above-average center, Paul's an above-average power forward, Marvin's an above-average small forward, Randy Foy's an above-average six-man, and Mo's probably an above-average point guard. I got to see it. Okay, so we're all above average in that regard. And then we've got these 4 developing pieces, and maybe 5 if Jeremy can show us a little something, and maybe 6 if Kevin Murphy, a second-round draft pick, though I wouldn't, I never hold my breath on a second-round draft pick. You've got Gordon, who's obviously already above average, but is going to get a little better. And Favors, who's above average. Okay, this is pretty cool. The really essence of this team is that you're able to, as we substitute, we're never going to match Wade or LeBron or Durant or Westbrook, but when they go tier down, we should be a notch better every single time. Like I need more caffeine today with the energy I have. Sorry, I just took it. If you're not on YouTube, I just took a sip of coffee. That's the way I look at this team, and that's the way I'm going to view this team, and I think that's the excitement of it. And then how we all develop in camp is going to be a big story, and how these above-average pieces all fit together on what a team that should hopefully be a playoff team, and then try to see if there's something that can make this team be a top 4 team in the Western Conference. From last year. I think that might be one of my questions to these guys today. What has to happen for this to be a top 4 team in the Western Conference? And that's a huge task, because 3 of those spots, in my opinion, are taken. Lakers, Thunder, Spurs. Now you've got Clippers, Grizzlies, Dallas, Denver, and the Jazz, and Minnesota. How do you get to be the best of those 6 teams? That's a huge issue. I've watched a bunch of film recently. I watched about 3 games of Marvin Williams. The post is up. It was question 17. He really was. It's interesting to watch him. I'm curious to see what he does here. And maybe we stand around as much as every other team in the NBA, and I don't realize it. But boy, Atlanta stands around a lot. I mean, there was a lot of run through, one cut, almost no possessions where he ever had multiple cuts. I hope we don't play that way. I'll have to go back and watch this. And sometimes the ball goes into the left block and it sits there. But I'm curious to watch Marvin, because he had a lot of one cut through, go out to the wing and stand there and not do a lot offensively. I was impressed by a few things. He was in the post, which I don't know how you're posting up your 3, but maybe we are. In the post, he's very comfortable with his back to the basket and passes out of it quite well. He is very ready to shoot. His feet are set. His catch and shoot is quick. It starts a little low, which I thought was surprising. He's not a catch and just go. It comes down to go up. which isn't ideal, but he's got a pretty quick release, and he's pretty well set on his feet. He's not adjusting to get ready. Sometimes guys are surprised they get the ball or they don't get the ball enough. Or last year I thought a lot of our guys sat around and never were ready to shoot when they got it. Maybe they weren't confident. Who knows? So we'll see on Marvin. Defensively, he's always in the right spot. I was interested. I didn't watch him against any great offensive players in the random. Danny Granger actually is pretty good. Nobody ever really got at him. Teams didn't go at him. He didn't get beat. In that Indiana game, it was as though whoever Joe Johnson was guarding, they went after. The Jazz were kind of similar. It didn't really seem – it felt as though teams just didn't go at Marvin at all, or that he just didn't allow much. I was impressed with the way he played. I thought he played the game right. He played the game hard. What struck me is if you have he and Hayward on the floor together, excuse me, at the same time, you really have two guys that are playing the game right and playing the game hard almost all of the time. So I think that's really a neat combination. We'll see how all these mix. I mean, everyone wants to know the starting five. I don't know. My guess is Mo, Gordon, Marvin, Favors, Jefferson, with a really fabulous bench combination of Burks, Foy, Millsap, being able to do some neat damage. But Marvin and Paul are pretty similar. They could slide in between, and I wouldn't be, I'll be curious to watch them. Marvin may be able to prosper. He's not going to become an all-star or anything, but I think he might be able to prosper a little bit watching this. A few other observations I kind of mentioned on some of the defensive things at times we were really terrible watching the film. The other one I will say, and I'm curious to watch this year, I was stunned watching back on some of the Jazz games how quick a trigger Alec Burks had last year. Excuse me. I think, that's the adjustment to being the number one option in Colorado to being an option on a team. And there were times last year where you didn't know if you gave up the ball, it was coming back, and Alec was trying to prove himself offensively. But boy, it was stunning. I don't know if I suppressed it or I don't remember it, but boy, there were 18 on the shot clock and just rising fire, which is just not a great look. Particularly, Alec did not shoot the mid-range shot well. I did some analysis on Alec, and I don't know if you guys saw this, but it was pretty eye-opening, and maybe a little bit on this whole conversation. I don't want to be beaten up on, he's going to be, he's going to improve, but I'm not sure I would, go to the All-Star call. Here was the one that jumped out at me. Last year on Alec, Alec was 9 for 48 on shots from 3 to 9 feet, and 4 of 18 on shots between 10 and 15 feet. So he's 13 of 63, 21% from 3 to 15 feet last year. That he lived there as a college player, and as a pro player, that just wasn't there at all. And hopefully he and I will talk about that a little bit today. He's not always the most talkative of the bunch, so we'll see whether I get any insight on that. But we'll touch on that and see what I can learn about what he thinks he may have learned or adjusted. And I think, I'll say this just flat out. This camp right here, everyone's going to talk favors. I think this camp, if I had to isolate one player who I think this camp is bigger for than anyone else, Mo Williams understanding the team and playing as Ty wants, there's no question. 2 is Alec Burks. Burks came to the NBA with a reputation of being too cool for school. And there was a huge question about him coming out of Colorado of whether he was going to bust his butt, whether he'd ever be willing to play defensively. Scouting reports from GMs I talked about how he just was terrible when he wasn't on the ball, both offensively and defensively. That offensively, if he didn't have the ball, he didn't set his teammates up or run the cuts. Defensively, if he didn't have the ball, he just wasn't on the ball, he wasn't engaged. Those are things he's got to buck this perception of him around the league and prove, as he has throughout his entire career, everyone wrong. And he's got to pass a little bit better. He's got to he was very low on the assist rate. He's got to learn how to do some of these things. And the way he's done those things is if he took this offseason incredibly seriously. The fear after game one in Orlando was that he wasn't taking it seriously. He wasn't good. Then he clicked in Orlando, but he should kick the crap out of those guys. So this is going to be really telling him. He's got Randy Foye, who's going to be a veteran, who's physical, who's going to be out there to kick his ass. And it's going to be interesting to see how Alec Burks reacts to that every day in practice. And I think Alex has that inside of him to fight through it and to put in the effort. But you got to find out. I mean, it goes to what Kevin McHale talks about. Kevin McHale talks about that there's 3 players in the NBA. There's the guy who, hey, I'm getting my money, I'm cool. I mean, I'll play, but I'm getting my money, so I'm cool. Then there's the guy who plays really darn hard, but the minute it gets tough, he wilts. And then there's the third guy, and this is who you got to be, who plays really, really hard, and then when it gets tough, bam, fights through it a little bit and gets through that. And we got to find out, frankly, if that's who he is. We got to find out if Hayward's that guy. We got to find out if Favors is that guy. I think we know Millsap's that guy. I think Jefferson's trying to evolve into that guy. You know, ask yourself who our guys are in that regard, and that's what we have to find out. That's what Ty has to find out. That's what Jazz basketball is if you have enough of those guys, you know, that second guy gets tough and he finds his excuse and he blames a teammate. He does some other things. That's really a problem, and that's where teams fall apart. And the essence of last year's team is it did not fall apart, and that was awesome. All right, I got to wrap this up. I got a ton of things to do. Media Day, 1 o'clock, 1280 The Zone, 97.5. Ryder Cup, Jim Furyk and Steve Stricker. If you follow golf, you couldn't have for 1 minute thought you were going to win with those guys. I don't know who the other choices were. I'm not that knowledgeable. But when you line up those two guys, you have to know they're not going to win for you. They don't win big. Furyk has been a choke. Jim Furyk's golf season this year is one of the grandest choke seasons of any athlete ever. Stricker is the greatest non-big field golfer ever. And when it's a big field, he's all right, but he just doesn't break through that side. I'll tell you, I follow that closely. I think Ryder Cup's the best television on earth. I think if you could turn a National Golf League, NGL, and somehow create the Ryder Cup with teams rather than tournaments, golf would be bigger than it is now. Have the LA, birdies and the Utah drivers and the whatever, and build these teams and build this league and put this thing together, and you have your guys, and it's almost like a tennis league, and you have your match play and you have your foursomes and you count your points and you keep track of it like this. I think there would be I'll tell you what, if I wonder if golf were to have the 4 majors, maybe a PGA Championship, so 5 big national, and the rest of the year was made up into golf leagues like this, and I think it would be more popular. I think it could be really, really awesome. I don't know if you'd probably be kind of like the NFL. You get 16 weeks in, you have some sort of playoff at the end, like the FedEx Cup. There's something to be said for it, because Ryder Cup is just awesome TV that is truly fabulous to watch. And they should try to build on that. And I would trade Jim Furyk, because as good as he is, I would try to get somebody else, because he can't win a big match for me, right? And then I'd sign free agents. So anyway, wild thought on golf. But when I woke up on Sunday morning and looked at those, I certainly thought that there was a chance we were going to lose. I just didn't see a lot of wins on that board. I don't believe in Mickelson anymore. I didn't believe in Furyk. I didn't think you could rely on Snedeker to win in his first experience. I didn't think you could rely on Bubba to win. I went down, and there just weren't a lot of wins. I thought Duffner would win. He did. And I thought Tiger, because I didn't know the other guy, could probably win. Though Tiger has been anything but consistent this year, but he's awfully good. Keegan Bradley was a guy I thought was pretty mentally tough, but you get him up against Rory, you suddenly don't like that matchup. So it was bad across the board. And I will pass. Gosh, I got a bunch of NFL thoughts. We're at 20 minutes, and we got to go. It's Media Day. Talk to you guys at 1 on 1280 The Zone and 97.5. Home of your Utah Jazz. We'll be tipping off 7 days from today in Oakland. Not in Portland. I said earlier in Oakland. In Oakland. Not in Portland. See ya.